Good morning. It's Monday, April 24th. And based upon what I was reading in the Wall Street Journal, looks like we're going to have a rematch between Trump and Biden in the 2024 election. I'm not sure I really like that idea, but let's take a look at the facts. One thing that bothers me is the fact that we can't find two young men to run for president. So we have a situation where we might be headed for an epic rematch, because Biden is supposed to announce his re-election campaign this week, and that's putting to rest, so to speak, the fact that he will seek a second term and become the nation's first octogenarian president. And Trump is now 78, so we could have two octogenarians running for president in 2024. That doesn't say much for our younger population, okay? And then, of course, I say that because right now Trump has a substantial lead in the Republican presidential field, even though he's facing criminal charges in New York. And many more potential for legal problems are on the horizon. So this could be very epic. We could have a criminal running, or a criminal about to be indicted or something, running for president. Something that probably has never happened before in this country. I'm sure of that. So, but it's early, and maybe some other people will step into the race, and that will catch some people's eye. Although, from what I understand, DeSantis is fading fast because of his actions in Florida with his book ban and all the other nonsense that he's going. So, a second showdown between Biden, who's in the White House, and Mr. Trump, who's the outsider, even though he has convinced half of the population in this country that he was cheated. And I don't know how this will affect the U.S., the support that the U.S. has given to Ukraine in their war against Russia. I don't know how Mr. Trump feels about that and what he would be willing to do for the Ukraine. In fact, Trump might actually take more force and be willing to do a lot more for Ukraine than Mr. Biden has done, because Trump is that way. He's headstrong and he'll take action without getting the proper advice, I'll say. So I'm not so sure what would happen to this country if Trump wins on that front. But on the other side of the coin, Trump is a lover of Putin. We've seen that in the past. He thinks Putin is his buddy. So he might pull us entirely out of Ukraine. He might even support Russia's event over there. So if I look at Trump becoming president, I see a whole mixed bag of things with respect to the war in the Ukraine. Some that might be beneficial to the Ukraine, and some that would definitely not be beneficial to them. And then, of course, there's China. We all know how Trump loves Xi also. He is prone to loving dictators, people that he would like to emulate. If he could turn this country into a dictatorship, he certainly would attempt to do that. So it looks like Biden is expected to open his re-election bid with a video announcement. And his advisors are considering a Tuesday launch to coincide with the 4th anniversary of his entry into the Democratic primaries in 2019. Biden is scheduled on that day to address North America's building trades union. This would allow him to highlight his $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure law before an audience of union members who have backed Democrats and Republicans in the past. And union membership is way down in this country, but it's still a force. You know, there's only about 12% of this country is unionized now. And that's way down from when I was a kid and I belonged to unions. But unions in many cases have lost their strength, so to speak. And then Trump is planning a response to whatever Biden announces. He has said the president is vulnerable on a range of issues. He thinks that immigration is a big issue and inflation is a big issue. Well, they are big issues, but I don't think they are Biden's fault. When he came on board, immigration was a mess. Inflation really hadn't started because that became an issue because of the pandemic, which Trump mishandled from the very beginning. And I'm sure most of you remember that Trump was willing to drink Drano to fight off the infection. Don't get me wrong, both men are carrying a lot of baggage. Trump is carrying January 6th around with him, and the fact that he had all those classified documents that he took illegally to Mar-a-Lago. But then again, you have Biden with his classified documents that he took from various places. And then he's carrying around the baggage associated with Hunter and Hunter's infamous laptop, the one that appeared in some pawn shop or something. So both of these men are carrying around a lot of extraneous baggage that could affect how people choose to vote in 2024. But I think most of that stuff will probably be swept under the carpet by many people. So if we look at the numbers associated with the election, right now Biden stands at 48% of the population and Trump at 45% in the hypothetical head-to-head matchup. A lead within the polls' margins of error. 3 points doesn't mean much, and it could be 10 points or 15 points now, but there's still 2 years to go, so the numbers really don't mean that much. And it's possible that Mr. Trump has to beat out a field of 12 or so competitors for the nomination. But he has 48% of the GOP primary voters, followed by DeSantis at 24%, and no other Republican in double digits. So unless there's something catastrophic happens in the next few months, Trump looks like the likely candidate. Even though he's facing all of these criminal charges in New York and in the country, he's still a viable candidate in the minds of many. And Biden polls show that the public holds deep reservations about his presidency. And the Wall Street Journal survey stating 43% of the voters have said they approve of Biden's job performance, while the average of 48% said they approved of how Trump handled the job when he was president. So the numbers are kind of misleading, and at this point they're really not worth thinking about. Because if Biden wants to run again, he's going to run again. I don't see how anybody could unseat him. He's done a creditable job in a terrible environment, even though I don't agree with everything he's done. So as far as I'm concerned, it's too early to tell because Trump has all of these legal issues to survive. And I leave you with that this morning. Have a great day. Bye.